Poetry is when an emotion has found thoughts and the thoughts have found the perfect words. We all love a good poem, right? And ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് ദിവസം മുന്നേ പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു ദിസ് യൂണിവേഴ്സ് ഇസ് ആക്ച്വലി എ ക്രിയേഷൻ ഓഫ് ലോട്ട്സ് ഓഫ് പോയംസ് എന്നുള്ളത്. ഇന്ന് നൈറ്റ് ലൈറ്റ്സ് ഇസ് കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് സ്പെഷ്യൽ കാരണം ഇന്ന് ഞാൻ മാത്രമല്ല we have an amazing guest here with us. So today I have a poet, a writer, an author, a speaker, in fact, a lover of words. Today in the studio of 360 Radio on Night Lights, we have Mujeeb Jaihoon. Hello, sir. Welcome to Night Lights.
Thank you. I'm great to have you visit this place.
Okay, so talking of poetry, because I know that you have published around 8 books now, and most of them are a compilation of poems, right?
Right.
So how was it? How did you begin this journey of poems?
As with all poets and writers, I guess I started my writings during school and more so during the college.
Okay.
And I was very absorbed in the Rumi poetry, Iqbal poetry, and a couple of other mystic poets.
Okay.
That's what I'm inclined to and what I'm right about. So it came as a natural development, I guess, and we all reach where we are destined to reach. So I guess I just began the journey during my student days.
Oh, that's really interesting. Now, every writer out there, they would obviously have a pen name. And some people, I've heard people say that some of their pen names are because they want to distinct themselves from the writer they are. So what's the story behind Jaihoon?
Jaihoon is actually a name of a river in the
Okay.
Central Asian countries, especially Turkmenistan and neighboring countries. I came across this, I ran across this word in a poem of Allama Iqbal,
Okay.
where he describes himself as the waters of Jaihoon, and he found his inspiration also in the greatest of the mystic poets, Jalaluddin Rumi. So, being absorbed, being a great fan of Iqbal in those days, school days, college days, I thought, why not pick up this name and take it along with my life.
Wow.
So, and this is now how I'm known, Mujeeb Jaihoon. Less of Mujeeb and there's more of Jaihoon.
That's really interesting. Now, something else that I've noticed in your poetry is the, influence of a lot of Urdu words, a lot of Persian words. So, are you acquainted with these languages? And also, what is it that influences about, these words or these languages?
From a deeply personal point of view, it's less of my familiarity with the language
Okay.
than the acquaintance I have with my favorite poets. So when you like someone, a great personality, you kind of get closer to whatever their regional factors were in terms of language, maybe in dressing, your outlook, the way even sometimes your body language. So it's something which I think happens in a kind of a role modeling.
Yeah, okay.
So I fell in love with Urdu just because of Iqbal.
Oh, wow.
And anything to do with Iqbal, I'm very attracted to those kind of things. So I find it homely
Oh, wow.
if I use these foreign loan words than the English words, or the language that I write in actually. And every language is grounded, is molded, is nurtured in a particular culture. So while English is of a Victorian or a Western civilization,
Yeah.
Urdu, Persian and Arabic sometimes is more of East,
Okay.
with all its sophistication of culture and other diversities.
And also, I've noticed how, there is this sense of healing that you write through your words, especially in a very spiritual way. So do you feel like poetry helps a person heal?
Well, actually, for me, writing poetry is more of self-healing than healing others.
Okay.
So, for me, it's a remedy for my own ills, my pains, and my agonies than solving others' problems. So, first, for me, I heal myself. It's a remedy for my own problems. Than others.
Okay.
Of course, I have readers who come back to me saying that it did heal them in some way or the other. But then for me, it's like me boiling myself in the pot of poetry. and I
That's
get
intense.
so after the pot also boils, and it kind of really beats, to break, and so does the poet who's burning inside that.
Okay.
But after the water cools down, it's a great healing experience.
Wow. So the actual process of writing a poem could be really intense, right?
Yes, very much. And I guess if you're not intense, you don't need a poetry. Poetry is not for the faint-hearted.
Okay, so now we just got to know that you're going to be awarded the Guru Award that's recently been announced. So could you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, by the grace of God, I got nominated for the Sri Narayana Guru Shrestha Award 2022.
Okay.
This is by the Shivagiri Mud chapter of the UAE.
Okay.
And it's named, of course, after the greatest social reformer of Kerala. I guess he was less Keralite and more of a global citizen, because he fought against the social evils, untouchability, against the unity of humanity, for one God. And he's a person I think the world need to celebrate. And I'm very humble and equally honored that I got this award for my humble creative journey.
That's really a great deal. Now, talking about your books, you've also written a novel, that is The Cool Breeze of Hind. And, as a reader who goes through it, there again you see a lot of, it's actually a travelogue, but then in a way it's very poetical also. So do you have, a tendency to use poetry in everything, like even if it's a prose or you're writing an article also, do you think it eventually becomes another poem?
Yeah, that's, I think, one of the strength and equally the weakness in my writings.
Okay.
Where even if I attempt to do prose, it comes out in a poetic sense.
Okay.
So people who love poetry, it's a great attractive deal for them.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for them. But those who are not in tune with the poetic metaphors and that mood, they'll find it a little difficult to understand and comprehend. Perhaps the fault and the merit lies in my own creative schooling.
Okay.
The people I'm associated with in terms of the spiritual association I have with my role models.
Okay.
But that book, of course, was a real journey, described in a very metaphorical sense.
Yeah.
With a very great and deep spiritual undertone to it. And it's actually a proclamation, a declaration of my love, of my patriotism for my country and for my native land. And I have very liberally used Malayalam and Urdu and other language words to describe the things, because sometimes you need a native word to explain that phenomenon.
Yeah. And also, could you tell us a little bit about the book, like the themes, or the places, or the different journey that the experiences that you've had throughout?
As I said, there was an actual travel which I undertook during my vacation.
Okay.
And this was actually written pre-2000. So anyone who wants to know what Kerala was, especially the Malabar side, was before 2000, I think this book would considerably help in that matter. It has history and present jumbled up. There is a non-linear narrative in the book. So there is a past of Kerala, and then there's a past of other even pre-medieval period narration of events. A lot of sophisticated quotes are there, and of course my favorite poet, Mr. Iqbal, he figures up, he jumps in between. I bring his quotes and his philosophy left and right. But all in all, for me, it's like a spiritual travelogue to my own culture, to my own roots, my legacy, my own heritage. And it's more of a self-discovery than a historical, a fiction.
Okay. Now, another book that is actually, very much celebrated and also has been translated in different language is Slogans of the Sage. So how has that experience been, and how has that journey been? Coming up with the book, compiling the quotes and everything.
Yeah. One of my favorite leaders, I would say. But also same time, a great role model is Sayyid Muhammad Ali Shihab, the late South Indian, the Keralite statesman and the philanthropist.
Yeah.
So I was very fond of his perspectives and his personality. And this book is a collection of quotations.
Okay.
With illustrations and quite a few fancy look.
Yeah. I think you can, maybe show the book also.
So,
you have it here.
Yes. This is the Slogans of the Sage.
Yeah.
So as you can see, this is like a coffee table book with a square format. And there is illustrations inside it.
Yeah.
About his personality, about his life.
Yeah.
So this is been a very successful book in my journey.
Okay. So this book has been translated into Malayalam and also, I guess, Italian language.
Yes, the first translation was into Italian.
Oh, okay.
It was done by Dr. Sabrina Lay, the Rome-based philosopher and a great interfaith activist.
Yeah.
After that, it was translated into Malayalam, which was recently launched, and we are also planning to launch it in the Sharjah Book Fair.
Okay.
And now also there are 3 other translations which I would like to announce exclusively on the show.
Yes.
The next one which is almost we have signed up with the publisher is the Tamil translation.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be published from Chennai. And the other 2 will be from Europe again. 2 other major languages of Europe are, one is the Italian. Sorry, one is the Spanish.
Okay.
And French.
Wow.
So
it means there are so many readers for this particular book.
Yeah, the Italian book was very successful. It was well received in Europe.
Okay.
And especially it was rendered into Italian by Dr. Sabrina Lay, who is a very renowned and active voice in the European intellectual circle.
Yeah.
So I guess the Spanish and French translations would do a similar service, I hope. And both of them are very actively translated and revised by the native speakers of those languages.
Okay.
Right. So, inshallah, let's see. For the next year, probably we could have these 2 translations out.
Hopefully, it'll be a success. I pray and I hope that becomes a huge success.
Thank you.
And be well received and read also. And talking of exclusives, we also have another exclusive here on today's show. And it's actually my honor, I would say. So you have an upcoming poetry anthology that is to be released. But here today in the studios of 360 Radio, we will be officially, releasing the cover of the book. So, you know what? Please do the honors.
Right. So, before I announce the name and the cover of the book, many of my friends, my well-wishers, my critics have been asking, hey, why not any other writings after the slogans? Because they seem to see, observe only the translations and other, the launch events of books related to these slogans. So I was even contemplating another poetry compilation.
Okay.
And this compilation is especially to do with the plight and the sufferings and the oppression that the minorities are facing in several countries, especially in India.
Okay.
So this is about the oppression and the sorry plight of certain communities who are facing very difficult situations. There's also poems about war and conflict, about women's rights, etc., and other humanitarian conflicts around the world.
I see, okay.
So I guess let me take this opportunity
yes, please.
And thank you for giving this opportunity to announce the name of the book and as well as the cover reveal on the show. So this is called The Mantra of Oppressed.
Wow.
Mantra of the Oppressed. Right. So as you can see, this is a lady who is behind the barbed wire, and it's often the women who pay the price for the conflicts in several countries.
Sure.
Men somehow, make it out, but women and children especially, they go through a very difficult situation.
Yeah.
And they pay the price, the first price and the greatest price of any conflict, especially wars and other hate-related conflicts. So this cover is was conceived and executed by Shabna Sumaya. She's a Calicut-based artist.
Okay.
And she's especially good at this surreal kind of imaginative artworks.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, there's so much of depth, in the painting itself.
Right. So she, being a lady and also very closely associated with the sometimes the activism of the oppressed people, she has been able to conceive the pain of what the poet meant or the poet had in mind. And she has literally taken up the entire pain of all the poems inside the book and come up with this graphic where a lady is in a prayer mode, because most of the time a lady can only pray. She cannot get out and fight like a man. But she's holding a rosary and then she's behind the barbed wire, and the very expression on the face, it will convince the reader, the book lover, that the pain that women, especially who undergo in conflicts.
Okay. And it's quite interesting and also very deep, I would say, and something that we readers can, look forward to for sure. Now, talking of, you're also a public speaker, especially, noticed how you speak with students, with the youth out there. So what's something that you would want to, tell the youth, especially when it comes to writers, young writers and students who love to play with words or, be with words?
Right, yeah. I would say to be with the words because words are too precious to play with.
Yes.
We can afford to play with gems and diamonds, but not with words, because they're very sharp, they're very tender, and they're very meaningful.
Yes.
So words, as I've said somewhere, are too precious to be, spoken out too loosely. So we should be very careful. We should be very serious about words. So what I would like to see in our youth, especially the writers, is people should be rooted very strongly, very spiritually in their own heritage. Especially, for example, if you take the case of every culture, every country is unique. Me coming from Indian culture, I feel there's a lot of heritage, a lot of good values in the Indian cultures. Irrespective of the race or the religious denomination. So India is rich. India's soil is rich with values and a lot of legacies out there where we should be strongly connected to. Globalization sounds very sweet, very beautiful, and it's very practical. But we should not lose sight of our own roots and heritage. Globalization is it's a vast ocean. But we should swim with our values intact. It's very important. So writers, whether we are writing in English or any other language, we have to have our values from our own culture. And then we introduce that to a globalized world. And the readers will respect us when we stand in our own soil. That's what my creative experience has taught me. This is not a politically correct statement, but it's from my own personal experience.
Okay. I mean, that's true, I mean, at the end, we cannot forget our roots, because whatever we are evolving or however we are evolving, there's a part of that our roots, that our tradition, that our culture plays in. And as long as, that is good and positive and nice, I believe, we have to respect and, engage and nurture our roots and culture. So this is, really a good time, these past few minutes with you, having this conversation, and I'm sure we have a few takeaways, how we have to be rooted to our culture, and at the same time that we shouldn't be playing with words because they are sharp, but at the same time they are pretty tender too, and also very meaningful. So yes, that truly is a takeaway that I am taking tonight. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you, and
all the best for your upcoming works, your book that's to be released. All the best for that.
Thank you for having me here. And as your motto states, where listening is a virtue, writing is also a virtue. Thank you.
Well, yes, I think we'll add that too. But this was really nice. And I'm signing off for the night. Take care. Love, duas. Good night. Bye-bye.